The resources I put together are for a upper level forensic science class, mostly 11th to 12th graders. This class, based on the articles I've selected and the other materials I've selected, is for a accelerated class. I grouped my sources based on how I would use them in class. So the first activity I would do is a activity where students will look at the debate surrounding DNA, forensics, and mandatory DNA testing for anyone who is arrested. I have a collection of 4 articles for this. First is Debating the DNA Collection. It's from the National Institute of Justice. This article provides both sides of the story. It has at grade reading level. The second article is the Ninth Circuit will rehear mandatory DNA collection at arrest lawsuit. It's published by the American Civil Liberties Union. Again, it is at grade reading level, has a reading level of about 11.1. Third, I have Forensics, DNA Fingerprinting, and CODIS. This is an article that looks, again, at the issue of mandatory DNA sampling for anyone arrested. This would be a challenge piece. This is above grade reading level. It has a reading level of 14.1. This seems a little high after reading the article, but my guess would be the reading level is high due to the terminology associated with DNA forensic science. Finally, the fourth article is The Pros and Cons of DNA Collection. It's a letter to the New York Times. This is a lower reading level piece. It has a reading level of about 9, and this would be used to not only provide another idea to the students at a lower reading level, but also to explain to students and provide an example of how I want the material presented of the debate based on these 4 articles together. I would ask students to write a letter, their own letter to the newspaper editor, following the model of this letter. All 4 articles would be used with some sort of note-taking or highlighting graphic organizer to help the students gather their thoughts in order to write, and also scaffold for those students that are having that are below reading level. The second set of materials that I've put together are all in-class activities. The first is the DNA fingerprinting, the Great Cafeteria Caper Lab. This is a gel electrophoresis lab where students will actually manipulate the material. The introduction and procedure for this lab is below reading level, as at about 8. Another activity that we do in class is actually use a video with very basic procedures to teach us how to extract our own DNA using spit, salt water, rubbing alcohol, and food coloring. This provides both a visual as well as the steps. This is well below reading level. Finally, a DNA fingerprinting worksheet. It has a couple pages of reading that are below reading level at about a grade 8 reading level, as well as diagrams explaining the process. All 3 are well below reading level and would help students that are struggling in the class move up to where they need to be. It also is the first 2 activities provide a kinesthetic learning for those students that do have struggle with reading. They can physically do something instead of having to look at it. I have 2 interactive websites that I would use. One's entitled DNA Profiling. It uses both text that is slightly below reading level, has about a 9th grade reading level, as well as diagrams to explain the process of DNA profiling. The second interactive website I would use is the CHIN Interactive Investigator. It's actually part of the Virtual Museum of Canada, and it's a virtual museum of forensic science. It has database info. It has text that is at grade reading level, as well as timelines and games that are at or at, below, and above grade reading level, depending on the reading level of the student. I would assign which tasks on the website I would like completed. I have 3 different web quests where students actually go on and investigate crimes online using the different evidence. All three use text, diagrams, and manipulations on the computer. How they vary is they vary at reading level. The first one, Forensic Science ThinkQuest, is at grade reading level of a reading level of about 12. Bones in the Badge does the same thing, but it's below grade reading level, has a 9th to 10th grade reading level. And then the Visible Proofs Forensic Views of the Body Education is also a web quest, but that is above grade reading level at a reading level of about 15. Again, that 15 seems very high, and I believe it's due to some of the terminology used that hopefully these students, upon completion of this unit and participation in the unit, understand these vocabulary terms associated with forensic DNA collection. Finally, I have 3 different videos I would show. One is a History Channel documentary on the use of DNA in the forensic science, the use of DNA in the courtroom. A second video on the case for innocence, the pros, cons, both the pros and the cons of the use of DNA in the courtroom. And a third, it's a 3D animation of the polymerase chain reaction. It's a step in extraction of DNA and testing of DNA. All 3 provide visuals as well as voiceovers explaining the material for those students that are having